Hey everyone, so in today's video, we're going to be talking about Leave the World Behind. Now, this movie has been like trending everywhere. Came out not too long ago, like about roughly around 2 months ago. And this movie is Leave the World Behind, which was executively produced by former President Barack Obama. Now, essentially, Leave the World Behind is a movie, it's actually a book. It was a book first and then it was made into a movie. It's about a family going on vacation, and on this vacation, a bunch of strange things happen. And we're just gonna like dissect everything and try to analyze every little detail as best as we could. Okay, so the four main characters, well, actually, six characters in total. From one family, it's Clay, the father, Amanda, the mom, Archie, the son, Rosie, the daughter. And then in the other family, it's Ruth Washington and G.H. Washington. Now, the whole story starts up with the mom, Amanda, saying that she really thinks she needs to go on vacation. She actually books this vacation before telling her husband, and the rental listing, the title that it put as the listing is Leave the World Behind. Now, I find this very interesting because I don't know if they were trying to foreshadow. I think this is, yes, I think this is definitely foreshadowing because the name of the rental listing is Leave the World Behind. Name of the movie is Leave the World Behind. And things that happen, they essentially had to leave the world behind. And this also reminds me of real life when, we are given certain clues, like context clues. For instance, we all know what happened in 2020. But a lot of us did not even know that there were movies that came out way before 2020 and shows that came out way before 2020 predicting what happened in 2020. And those who would have seen those shows before and would have probably mentioned it before, people didn't believe them. People call them conspiracy theorists and stuff like that. So it just goes to show sometimes things are right in front of our faces and we do not know what is going on because we don't pay attention. And if we choose to pay attention, we choose to ignore the truth and we choose to be in resistance to the truth, basically. Anyways, so on their way to this vacation home, Rosie, who's the youngest child, she mentions the show Friends, and she mentions the show a lot throughout the movie. She tells her father, she asks him if they could visit the coffee shop, the same one in Friends. And he responds, I don't think that's real, honey, just a set. So I find this dialogue going on here is very significant. He says, I don't think that's real, honey, just a set. It's kind of like how a lot of the things in this world, it's not real. Like, obviously, we are alive and we could see and we could touch and we could feel. But I truly believe that we create, it's kind of like how we create our own reality in a sense. And everything that's around us is because of our imagination. I honestly think it's something like that. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts down below if you agree with me that our thoughts create our reality and everything in this life, someone would have thought it before it actually appeared. For instance, someone would have imagined a fridge because no one knew what a fridge was until someone imagined it and it came to be. So like everything is not real. It's just a set. It's just something that came into being because of our thoughts. Anyways, so they're in the house. Amanda, who's their mom, tells her husband the password is novella. Now, I find this to be very interesting because I did some research. No, usually novella, we would know it to mean novel, like a book. But did you know the origin of novella in Latin as well as, I think it was Italian, both Latin and Italian, it actually means new. So we have that first hint, new. And what's the third word in the title of the movie? World. Put those two together. What does it say? New world. That cannot be a coincidence. Anyways, moving on to the other scene. So Amanda's at the supermarket. She's picking up stuff and she notices one of the customers coming out with tons and tons and tons of water, and she's so confused because she has no idea. Like, it's just weird. Like, it's a regular day. Why would this guy have so much, have so many cases of water? So This is basically foreshadowing as well the circumstances that are going to happen later on in the movie, and it also signifies, this same thing happens in real life. There would obviously be people who would be 10 steps ahead than other people. Like if something crazy happened, there would always be a few people who know what's going to happen before before others know, essentially. Right? Anyways, also too, something crazy happens when they're on the beach. A ship, it's not stopping whatsoever, and Rosie is the first to spot this ship that's coming in the direction of the shore. It's not stopping, and she alerts her family, and they're like, no, 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 it has to stop. Whatever, it's not going fast. But it actually was going fast, and from the time they realized it was so close to them, they could have like gotten killed, and everyone started running out. So to me, that also signifies that there would be people who have intuition, just like Rosie, and they would like try to warn other people, but other people don't listen. They just don't listen, and they don't believe, and saying things are made up, and you're conspiracy theorists and stuff like that. So I think Rosie really represents those people who have like spiritual gifts or intuition, those people who are often ridiculed and condemned and called conspiracy theorists. So I think she represents that. Also, too, the name on the ship, White Lion, I think that signifies the racial biases between Amanda and the other family. There is some tension. If you watch the movie and read the book, you'll see that. But you know what I love about this movie? It shows that when they work together, both families work together, that's when they solve things a little bit faster and try to figure it out. Or at least that's when they're the safest. Because in two circumstances, when the family split up, the first one being when GH went looking for his friend to find out what's going on, he goes to his house and he's nowhere to be found. He walks in the back and he sees like dead people, dead pilot. And as he is like looking up at the sky, he sees a plane heading towards him ready to crash. He runs quickly inside, slams the door. The plane crashes and water from the pool just flies and breaks the window. And he gets wet in the process. When he returns to the house, everyone is asking him what happened, and he's hiding it. So this could also signify something too. Like when things happen, you need to tell people. Like if you have an idea or if you think something is gonna happen or you have an idea of what could be going on, you need to share it because that way you could solve problems faster. There's strength in numbers, and this movie really teaches that. Also, another circumstance where they split up and then things headed south is when Amanda was like, she was leaving and telling them she has to protect her family. Ironically enough, as soon as they left and they were on their way out on the road, they bumped into a whole bunch of malfunctioning cars and they almost got killed by those cars because they were self-driving cars. So that was a second circumstance in the movie that signified that sometimes when we try to do things on our own and like split up from people that we don't really work too well with those people, sometimes could be at your detriment. Sometimes there's strength in numbers, even if you may not like the person, even if you may like them, whatever, there's always strength in numbers because two heads are better than one. Also, there's a lot of symbolism in this movie. Apart from, the things happening like plane crashes and the power outage. Oh my God, I can't believe I forgot to mention that the whole point of this movie actually is the first bad event that happened was the power outage. So this power outage, essentially there's no Wi-Fi, no access to anyone, no signals on televisions, you can't contact anyone, no one knows what's going on, and it's just terrible. Everyone is like scared and petrified for their life and don't know what's happening and just don't know what's going on. Then later on in the movie, there's this loud, piercing, deafening sound. And no one knows if it's a bomb, if it's a missile, if it's a sonic boom, if it's a power plant explosion, no one knows. But you know what's also a significant thing about this movie? Okay, first let me go back. Let me go back to the symbolism. So Rosie is the first person, the same one that I was telling you about who has strong intuition. She was the first person to see all these dares, like just dares outside the house, coming closer and closer and closer to the house every single day. And they're growing larger and larger and larger in numbers. And she tells her brother this early on though. She's like, do you realize that there's dares like coming closer? And he's like, no, because every time she mentions it, for some reason the dares disappear. But I think this also symbolizes too that some people don't pay attention, because if he would have paid attention when she was calling him the first time, he would have spotted the dares and he would have been a work on. So I think that scene and that relationship between siblings really represent some people who are awake and then others who are still asleep, and those who are asleep, things won't really work out in their best interest, because he was so distracted throughout that whole movie, not paying attention to the important things. And he was the first one to suffer the most, because when that noise happened, that piercing noise, his teeth, like all his teeth came out. I like kid you not, you have to watch this movie, it's crazy. All his teeth came out. So yeah, going back to the symbolism and the dare. So yeah, they said that the dares represent like a animal migration. It also represents spirituality. Like they said that the Mesoamericans, I feel like I'm pronouncing that wrong. Mesoamericans. They said that dares are like omens. So it also symbolized the dares knew exactly what was happening, or that something bad was going to happen. And Rosie, with her intuition, she may not have known exactly what was going to happen, but she knew that strange things will be happening, if that makes sense. And I think because she really was the only one that was awake, she was the one to find the bunker filled with food to last for years, filled with, entertainment, a nice, clean place to live. So I really think that is why Rosie was so successful in finding happiness, essentially, because she was the only one that was aware. And even if she may not have understood exactly what was going on, she paid attention. And I think that's what we all need to do. We need to pay attention to what's happening around you. Also, I want to mention really quickly two other scenes. The first one, when Clay went looking for help, he saw no one on the road besides a Spanish-speaking lady. Obviously, she's speaking Spanish, he's speaking English, no one understands each other. This scene, in my opinion, is so significant because when she was speaking in Spanish, she actually explained everything that was happening. Like, she explained that she heard, she just needed help, essentially, to go home, and there was a plane crashing and red letters being dropped from the sky, and she was just essentially explaining those things. If he had understood her, he would not have almost gotten killed, because he ignored her. He was afraid, actually. He was afraid of her because he did not understand. And I think that's so significant. We are so, people, not me, but people in general are so afraid of embracing other cultures and knowing each other. But if he had only actually... Now, I'm not saying that everyone has to learn Spanish or English. I'm just saying that if we were more... I feel like this scene represents, if we were more open to other cultures, we could help each other so much more. Because if he had understood Spanish, he could have helped her, picked her up, help her get to safety. And also he could have prevented his almost death experience. Because essentially he went in the same direction that she was warning him not to go to. And the same thing happened where a plane was about to crash. It did crash, but luckily he escaped getting crashed into. And then all these red letters dropping, and he being very scared, not knowing what is going on. And those red letters, he brought one home, and his son was like, the title says "Death to America." Now, I have no idea what that means, but at the end of the show, at the end of the movie, some people think that it's Asian, like Korea specifically, that would be behind the downfall of America. And then there's some people, like the guy from Texas, who believe it's like Iran. Nobody knows who it is. They just know that, other people, like other countries, are out to get them or something of that nature. So I'll leave you guys with this. I want to put in this last clip. Before I put in this last clip, I just want to say that we all need, we don't know what's going to happen in the future, but we all need to be aware of everything. We need to be open. We need to be mindful. We need to be receptive of new information, learning new things, being fully prepared for anything that ever happens. Yeah, so I'm going to leave you guys with this last clip. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.